as we move forward, we obviously believe strongly that the setting and the potential mineralization at Mumbezhi will lead to a mining business being developed there. But as an alternative, we are always thinking carefully about the commercial alternatives, potentially using some sort of production agreement, sharing agreement with either of these facilities. And we believe that's why First Quantum was strategically interested in this project, as they are looking in the near term to expand their global resource at Sentinel.
So hello and welcome to the Assay TV. Today I am happy to be joined by Sam Hosack, Managing Director and CEO at Prospect Resources. So Sam, thanks for joining us here today.
Thank you, Amy, and to the Assay team for having us back.
Absolutely. It's always great to be able to catch up. So just for those who might not be too familiar with your company, can we start with a bit of an introduction to Prospect Resources, share a little bit about your company and some of your main projects?
Thank you. Yes, so Prospect Resources, we're an Australian listed business. We are predominantly an African-focused company. Our thesis is really strong on African projects, African personnel, and we really enjoyed the liquidity and access to capital that our ASX listing provides. Prospect Resources, previously really well followed for its lithium development story at Arcadia Lithium here in Zimbabwe. That was developed through the 2016 to 2021 phase. At that time, it was the 7th largest lithium hard rock deposit globally and really very significant. It was progressed really competently by our team and led to a transaction and sale to Huayou Cobalt in 2022 on a 100% basis for $422 million US. Now, of the 87% that Prospect owned, we returned in a capital return on dividend 96 cents on the dollar to our shareholders. We retained 30 million Aussie dollars, and we've been putting that into exploration and predominantly the acquisition of a brownfield project. We looked very carefully through the Southern African context. We looked in Namibia, we looked in Zambia, and we assessed around 20 projects, mostly copper projects. Prior to being a lithium business, most of our team were deep and recognized reputation within the context. So we went back to Zambia, we went back to the northwest of Zambia where the scale and it's I believe the future of the sort of Zambian story lies. We acquired the Mumbezhi copper project. We acquired that last year, so that completed in May, and subsequent to that we put 10,000 meters of drilling into the project, which took the total drilling of the project to around 24,000 meters. Amy, we've released a maiden resource estimate earlier this year, which contained over 500,000 copper tons. So that's very promising, 107 million tons at 0.5% head grade. And we also released an exploration target, which has the upside being in a range of around 400 to 1 million tons of copper mineralization. So really significant upside, a large tenement. We were able to also secure mining licenses over our tenement. So we're in a fully permitted position. We've got a fantastic asset. And very recently, we welcomed First Quantum Minerals onto the clear register at 14.9%. And through doing so, we've released it for around 18 months of very, very intensive drilling. So that's a bit about Prospect Resources.
Okay, sounds great. So as you just mentioned, you've just kind of announced the completion of the strategic investment from First Quantum Minerals, where you raised 15.2 million Australian dollars. Can you talk about how you see this partnership helping to facilitate both the near and the longer term development for the Mumbezhi copper project?
Yeah, sure. Amy, I have a deep understanding of copper, and when I say that, I say that mostly because I spent 14 years building projects actually for First Quantum. So I started my career in this part of Zambia as a graduate engineer in the mid 2000s, and have really grown to see how the western portion of the copper belt is being exploited. 20 years ago, at the time that I was working as a graduate, this part of the copper belt didn't have significant road infrastructure, had no power infrastructure. And First Quantum Minerals, through the Sentinel project, or Trident project at Sentinel, has really brought significant development capability to the region. They've invested over $4 billion over the last 15 years, and they're just to the west of us. Just to the east of us, Barrick with Lumwana, again, significant capital investment. So this part of Zambia is no longer considered a new part of the copper belt. It is really where we believe most of the investment for growth in copper production in Zambia is going to occur. So as to why First Quantum, we ran a process. We invited strategics to get involved, and our rationale was, with a tenement like Mumbezhi, which has significant scale potential, we wanted to move quickly, and to move quickly, we need greater capital support. We needed technical support, and really there's no one better than First Quantum in this region who can bring the depth of institutional knowledge, exploration capability, and so we are, in essence, able to bring that capability into our thinking whilst we continue with the work. So yeah, First Quantum are agile, they're nimble, they're bold, and these are all the things that we needed from a partner in Mumbezhi.
Absolutely. So you mentioned that Mumbezhi is located quite close to First Quantum Sentinel copper mine. Can you talk a little bit, how you see this proximity potentially benefiting your project as well? And are there any opportunities or synergies that you anticipate moving forward?
Sure. I think the main thing is obviously this part of Zambia hasn't had the exploration intensity and focus because of the grades. So at 0.5 or 0.6% copper, for maybe 20 years ago, that was considered to be marginal. But actually, these operations are very economic. And this part of Zambia, and in particular, the exploration potential here, is what we focus on. So whilst we're proximate or proximal to these operations, what attracted us was really a strong geological setting. As we move forward, we obviously believe strongly that the setting and the potential mineralization at Mumbezhi will lead to a mining business being developed there. But as an alternative, we are always thinking carefully about the commercial alternatives, potentially using some sort of production agreement, sharing agreement with either of these facilities. And we believe that's why First Quantum was strategically interested in this project, as they are looking in the near term to expand their global resource at Sentinel. So with Sentinel being 20 odd kilometers to the west of us, we feel we're right in their sweet spot. And so it's an option for us, Amy. It's an option for us to build that standalone mining business that we're so good at and so focused on. But there is always an opportunity, perhaps with one of these satellite ore bodies that we're going to build this year, that potentially that goes into some sort of early cash flow generation, and that's pretty exciting for an exploration business.
Absolutely. I mean, with the funds that you've raised from this strategic investment, so you're quite well positioned now to kind of work more on exploration and development for this project. Can you talk a little bit about any kind of anticipated milestones for the project, or kind of plans that you have moving forward?
Yeah, it's important for our shareholders to know what to expect from us, and we've always felt that we've got to say what we're going to do and then be really good at delivering. So that is an important part of how our credibility has been formed. So for this year, we are primarily focused on large scale exploration, and that is some airborne, some geochemistry, and potentially some ground-based geophysics. Why are we doing this? We're going to look very carefully at the known mineralization, and there's a corridor of known mineralization that we're going to try to drill out. But there's also, 300 square kilometers odd that we want to shore up and understand better from a sort of target generation perspective. So that's going to be very exciting. The second part of our program is the more diligent and more, I'd say, structural process, which is we want to continue to drill at Nyungu Central. We have 107 million tons drilled out there. Our belief is, and our target would be to potentially double that this year with drilling. But then as we look up that Nyungu corridor, we've got two other targets that are extremely anomalous, meaning extremely exciting for geologists. And so we need to go and drill those as well. So our intention this year is to really move from the sort of 107 million tons closer to where the exploration target is, sort of plus 400 million tons. And I think that's where this project really starts to become strategically critical to our neighbors. At the moment, I think we're interesting. I believe we're important to them, but where we become relevant is with scale. And so our shareholders will see this year around 18,000 meters of drilling is what we're planning. So nearly twice what we did last year. And we've got a lot more experience than we had this time last year when we started the project. So I think our shareholders can expect quite a steady flow of exploration results. In parallel, we're doing the metallurgical test work, which is being done on the east coast of Australia. So that's quite exciting. And towards the end of the year, we've committed to getting a scoping study out. So this project's really moving forwards on every front.
Okay, sounds great. And so, the Assay last caught up with you at 121 Cape Town and Mining in Java, where the broad theme was really about how Africa is driving the energy transition. So, as we all know, there's significant critical mineral reserves on the continent, and companies such as Prospect Resources should be pretty well placed to help supply some of these key metals. Can you talk a little bit about kind of how you see these opportunities for companies such as yourselves?
Yeah, Amy, firstly, being an African-focused business has some quite wide limitations. We're really focused on the sub-Saharan region, and really our focus will probably be specifically Zambia going forwards. There's a large number of variability in terms of jurisdictional risk within Africa, and Zambia is really at the top of the pile in terms of its national agenda, its political stability, its policy stability, and really Zambia is looking to more than quadruple its copper production by 2031. So they've already figured out all the policy amendments that they need to make to tap the capital, be in a position to do that. So Zambia, not only does it have investor-friendly history and policy and we believe future, but it's also very strategically located. It's just south of the DRC, and as we know, very much in the center of the continent. So at the moment, pretty much most of the minerals from Congo, Zambia export to the southern or the eastern freeboard. And through doing so, making their way to Southeast Asia but to the west, we've also got a massive American initiative called the Lobito Corridor, which is looking to exit minerals from DRC and Zambia and Angola to the west coast. And so that shows exactly how important Zambia is and why it's remained really focused on keeping that east-west tension. So it's interesting seeing it play out at a political level. Obviously, there's no influence on that, but being in Zambia where they've played all their cards right, and where we believe there's really good opportunity for Western players as well as Eastern focused players. So I think Zambia is probably, if not the best jurisdiction that you could hope to be in Africa.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, you definitely need to kind of have trust in the regulatory framework and of the country that you're operating in. And so finally, just to close out, you already started to touch on some of the plans for, Prospect Resources moving forward, but maybe you could talk about any kind of upcoming updates that we should be on the lookout for in the coming months.
Sure. I mean, imminently in the next couple of weeks, we're going to mobilize drill rigs. So that's an exciting time for us. Our team has been on a bit of a drilling sabbatical. So we stopped drilling in December. We generally start again late April, May, and then the rain abates. So that's exciting. We are frantically doing a swag of termite sampling. So termite hill samples is a form of geochemistry which we've seen widely used in Zambia and with a lot of success. And the implementation of our agreed plan with the FQM, which includes some airborne magnetics, to be agreed exactly which style and technique, but some ground-based induced polarization and more geochemistry. So on all the fronts that you could think of, we're going to be really producing results within 3 to 5 weeks. And that's going to be constantly coming to market for the balance of the drill season through to December. So lots to look forward to. And certainly the team's got a really busy plan for the year.
Okay, sounds great. We'll definitely, need to make sure that we catch up again in the coming months just to hear how things are developing with the project. So, Sam, those were all the questions that I had for you today. So thanks for joining us here on the Assay TV.
No problem. Thanks for your time.